Hi, Barbara. Can you hear me?
Yes, hello.
Okay, perfect. I just want to check your audio.
Yes, all's good. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, Barbara. Just for you to know, as well as the public who is watching, we're waiting on an additional member to arrive so that we can have an in-person quorum before we begin the meeting.
Okay,
So
sounds
it's
great.
minutes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, we're actually going to do this right now. Okay. You don't have a chair. Okay. Good afternoon. Welcome to the Natural Resources Preservation Advisory Board regular meeting on Wednesday, August 10, 2022 at 12:30 p.m. Kindly silence your cell phones. I will now call the roll. Member Diane Matthewman. Present. Okay. Member Eastwood Egan is not here. Member Chapelier. Here. Member Brenner is not here. Members Stansfield, sorry. Member Davison. Okay, and Member Nessel. I would like to take this time to welcome new member Barbara Nessel to the Natural Resources Preservation Advisory Board.
Thank you very much.
And Joshua Davidson. Okay, may we all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda? Is there a motion to accept the agenda as presented?
I'll make a motion to accept.
Okay, are there any public comments? No, no comments. Presentations, there are none. Approval of minutes, are there any corrections to the minutes of February 2nd, 2022? Okay, hearing none, is there a motion to approve the minutes as presented?
Motion to approve the minutes as presented.
Is there a second? Okay. Unfinished business, none. New business. Update on the February 2nd, 2022 board recommendations to the Town Commission. I refer this item to Town Planner Allen.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. On page 13 of your packets, I've gone ahead and provided an agenda memorandum regarding your last set of recommendations, which was back on February 2nd of 2022. I did note in the memorandum that we did have a scheduled board meeting on May 4th. However, that meeting was not held due to lack of quorum. We did try to have a special meeting on June 1st, but again, we were not able to have it due to a lack of quorum. So I just wanted to go over briefly your previous recommendations and the direction or consensus that was given by the Town Commission on each one. I'll go over briefly. So the first recommendation, which I've bolded on your agenda memorandum, was consider employing a professional tree service company like Bartlett Tree Experts to facilitate the management and care of the palms situated in the right-of-way along State Road A1A. The consensus from the commission was to have Bartlett Tree Experts implement a soil care and fertilization program at the cost of $6,000. And I did indicate in your memo that it will be 5 separate treatments. It'll be a 12-month time frame, and they've already done 2 treatments, which I've noted here as April 13th was the first one, and July 7th of this year was the second one. The second recommendation was to approve the implementation of additional bucket trees to all associations along the beach that have authorized their use. The consensus from the commission was to move forward. They did review the research that Ms. Stansfield had done. If you recall, before the commission before they approved additional trees, right, they wanted to hear feedback from those condos that currently are using trees. And based on the research that was done that Ms. Stansfield conducted, they did go ahead and give the thumbs up, if you wish, for additional trees. So at that point, I had 6 condos that were on a wait list, which I provided a table in your packet. And of the 6, 3 were installed at Highland Beach Club, Regency Highland, and the Coronado. The Wiltshire decided, even though I had them on a wait list, they were initially interested. They decided that they didn't want to move forward with a tree, that they have currently a trash can on the beach, and they found that to be adequate. The Penthouse Towers, they decided they didn't have room for a bucket tree, but they have some hooks there. So we gave them 4 buckets, which is what they requested. And then Ocean Terrace North, we initially did install a bucket tree, but then we got a request from the property manager that several, I guess on the behalf of the condo members and some of the community members, that it obstructed some of their views. So they asked us to remove it. So Public Works Department did remove it. The third recommendation was consider providing code enforcement officer that routinely, once or twice a week, walks or rides on the beach to facilitate visual observation of any violations to section 5-9 of the town code. Consensus from the commission was the recommendation is a low priority. However, they felt a more holistic approach regarding debris on the beach is needed. And as I note in your memorandum, the commission advised the town manager to look into this matter a little bit further. I'll keep the board abreast of any movement on this issue. The last recommendation was consider a special meeting or allocate time at its commission meeting to address beach raking issue in a more detailed matter and to take into consideration the needs of all residents of Highland Beach in regard to this particular process. Again, as I note in your agenda memorandum, this particular recommendation was not presented to the commission because there is pending litigation. So I did discuss it with the town manager, and he did make the determination that the recommendation would not be discussed at this time. I did also, just on a separate note, at the February meeting, there were a few questions that were posed, and I wanted to follow up with the board on those 2 questions. One of the questions was the number of palms that are referenced on A1A with regards to the soil and fertilization program that's being implemented. I think it was noted by the previous chair that there were 50 palms. I actually spoke with our utilities public works director, and he indicated that there's actually 100 palms, just to make that clear. And the other question that was posed to me was how many buckets have been replaced so far? And per our public works director, he indicated to me that they've replaced about 6 buckets. Some maybe got damaged or carried away by somebody. So just wanted to address those 2 questions that were posed to staff from the February meeting. And if anyone has any questions, I'll be glad to address any.
My only question is, can you tell us what the litigation is about, or is this not the?
Yeah, I don't think it's
Okay.
proper for me to discuss it, given I'm not the town attorney, so I'd rather not go there. Yeah,
Can I ask a question?
sure.
I did that report on dune restoration.
Yes.
What came of it?
Well, it is on your Natural Resources Preservation Advisory Board webpage. It's on there.
Okay.
If the board would like to do more outreach, again, the commission gave you carte blanche to basically look at the issue of dune management and execute. They didn't necessarily want it going back to them. So we've gone ahead and uploaded your presentation. Again, you can go to the Natural Resources Board webpage and
Are they
check it
going
out.
to allocate money? Because it requires money or cooperation from those private owners on the south end of the beach.
Well, I thought your presentation was more about, different plants, right?
It was.
Right. I don't remember a monetary component to it, but that
There
was
wasn't.
something the board, if you all decide to build on. I could talk to the town manager if you're talking money, but I think that would need to be massaged a little bit more from the board as to how you want to proceed.
Okay.
The information on proper plants, as you provide in your PowerPoint, again, it's on the webpage. But if you guys would like to do more, then by all means, you can have a discussion or see how you would like to proceed as a board.
Well, isn't that
their property, the city wouldn't be able to come in and
That's
say.
correct. This
you
is
have-
private property.
Yeah.
That is correct.
But now, do they have to follow the rules of planting the proper things?
Absolutely. Especially when it comes to dunes, so to be very careful. You have to get an FDEP, that's the Florida Department of Environmental Protection permit when dunes are protected. So you can't just go in there and start, messing with things. So anytime anyone asks me, or sometimes I have condos calling me, oh, we want to switch out a plant, please call FDEP. Even if it's sometimes on their property and not on the dune, some property lines go into the dunes, some don't. I still, as a precaution, have them reach out to the FDEP. They have a field person, again, he has a very large territory, but he does seem to respond very quickly. But yeah, anytime you mess with the dunes, you have to get an FDEP approval for it. Yes.
Okay, and what about the fact that a lot of the dunes are falling apart, like they need to be replenished with sand?
Yeah.
Is that the same thing?
Yeah. Again, it's private property.
Can we make them do it? What's happened is the erosion is being caused by not having the correct types of plants, the pioneer, the shrubs, and then the other plants that hold the soil in. And some of the pictures that I posted, like there was a swimming pool and then there was a cliff coming straight down.
Yeah.
Those kinds, and there's not that many of these properties
Yeah.
that are not taking care of their backyard dunes. There's I would say maybe 6 needs to be addressed because the north end of Highland Beach is doing great. It's the south end with the old Ambassador South. There's nothing you can do. They built that building too close to the ocean. It ricochets, it causes erosion on both sides. But if you're able to do those mansions off of Bel Air and Belido, you can help. Because I think I spoke to someone on the street 6 months ago about Ambassador South. I know it has a different name now. And they were gung ho. They want to do something. Some of the residents, so they can't put up a dune because it'll get washed away because of the wall. It's too close to the surf. But you can't do a lot of things without money is the problem. For me,
Absolutely.
I could say to a consultant I know who did Delray, Jensen Beach, Juno Beach, I could say to him, hey, help me out. But, he's going to expect to be paid.
Yeah.
He could come up with a plan, but to restore the dunes, you're going to have to put some money in. And you're saying it's all private.
It is
beach.
private property.
So how do am I allowed to knock on these doors and talk to that one association of mansions on A1A and start with them?
Well, I think maybe the board wants to discuss some sort of plan rather than a la carte. Maybe you want to come up with a plan on how to approach it, how you could do a little bit more outreach that you could put on the webpage. And then once that webpage, whatever outreach you want to do in addition to the PowerPoint, then we could put an article in the next manager's minutes, hey, check out the Natural Resources Preservation Board webpage. We have a great outreach on how you can work on your dune
Are we
or whatever
allowed
they
to
do.
deliver them pamphlet information? Can we do that? Woof, woof, woof. Are we allowed to do that?
I'll check with the town manager
Okay.
to see. I
Because
don't,
it's their attention I'm trying to get
Right.
6 or 7, the houses.
do you-
Sorry. Does the town have any authority from breaking of code to, go to these private properties and say, hey, your dunes are not up to code?
Yeah,
Can
I'm
you bring
looking
them up
through
to
the
code?
code right now while you were talking to see if there are any provisions about dune. There's things about dune protection, but not about the status, I guess, of your dune. We have a whole nuisance section of the code. But I don't know that I'd have to do a little bit of research to see whether if there's any type of erosion on the dune that, you have to keep your dune in some sort of particular state. I'd have to look a little bit further and I could, email you all after the board meeting. You give me a few days, I could research the code and see if there's anything specific. But as I said, there is a nuisance section of the code, but I just don't know that the status or how your dune is, if it's eroded, if that would fall into that nuisance section. No, that's more about you can't have garbage on your lawn, that type of stuff. I don't know that dune erosion will fall into it, but the code is hundreds of pages, so I'll be happy to do a little research and then I can provide you all an email after. But if you want to do some sort of pamphlet, again, I don't know if you're planning to do it on your own. There's a lot of resources out there, as you know, about dune mitigation, and maybe you want to just pass along a pamphlet that maybe
We can't talk
FTEP
to
may
the-
have or Florida Fish and Wildlife may have. I mean, I don't see an
We-
issue
we-
with something like that.
I would like to have a conversation with their association. Am I allowed to do that?
Um,
I don't think so.
I'm not sure.
Can
I'm
you-
not sure. I'd rather discuss it with the town managers just to,
Because they probably won't look at the website. If they're clearly their backyard is basically falling into the sea and they don't make it a priority. Maybe they don't live here year round,
That's what I was gonna say. I think a lot of them aren't even aware
I
of how
know.
bad it is.
or that it shouldn't be that way.
I thought that I read in the ordinance one time about the dune maintenance and that they are responsible for keeping it in the proper condition, but you will research that and let us know.
take a look.
Because wouldn't code enforcement just be able to go out there and knock on the door and
I
say,
mean,
hey,
if there
you
was a
need to, you
provision in the code that says, you can't, if there's erosion on your dune, you have to do something about
have
it.
to fix
So
it.
then he can go ahead and reference that section. But if there's nothing in the code, I mean, there might be something more broad in the broad sense of things, like maintaining your property. So maybe it could fall under something like that. I'd rather research the code properly rather than sort of guess off the top of my head.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, they obviously have a property management company. You would think they do assessments of, projects that need to be done. I mean, we've had, because I bring items to the planning board, we have a lot of condominiums, redoing their seawalls. That's been top priority. A lot of them are not in the best shape. And just listening to some of them come to the planning board meetings, they talk about the lists of improvements that they're doing. There's a lot of work to be done. So I don't know if dealing with the erosion problem may be on their list of improvements over at the Ambassador. I don't know. But let me make a note to reach out to the town manager just to see how you reaching out to them if there's any issue.
And just to note, the people that have problems with the dunes don't have to maintain a seawall. Because,
True.
they're on the
But
beach. so-
some of them have property right on the west side where they have a seawall. There's a few condos that are like
On
that.
both
They're the
sides.
west-
Yes,
yeah.
that's true.
So they been prioritizing, the seawall, but not everyone's like that, but there are several condominiums that do have property on both sides. Yeah. Okay, I'll make a note right now.
Are there sections of the beach that are public and not private that need repair?
It's all private.
It's all private, like, well, as that belongs to the town.
No, there's a portion of the beach on the south side, right, that's owned by the county, right?
Okay.
Across from that big vacant land towards the south, but other than that, there is no town-owned beach property.
Gotcha. Because my idea would be to, we could have like a fundraiser for the town to,
They would do it.
help do like, but if nothing's owned by the town, then it's really kind of.
We could have an event. with
It's
food
really the
trucks.
people
Yeah.
who live there. It's their responsibility.
Yeah, it
Easiest
is.
way, if we have no money, is to
Yes.
go with them with a stamp on the door saying, hey.
Yeah. When
Well-
you get a chance, go, do you know, what's the name of that building? Not the Ambassador, 345,
4,500.
where Bel Air Drive is, and there's an easement there.
Mhm.
Just go over there and that part of the beach, Chap
Chaparral.
is that way. And then the mansions are over here. I think they're called Ocean Estates or something. You've got to see that. Some of them are okay, but there's like 5.
I think I know what you're talking about.
And it's criminal to leave that way. It is. What affects nature, the animals and the sea turtles and everything. It really is. And that's what we're all about, Natural Resources Board.
As a new member, I can only support that. I live right there, and I was shocked what my neighbors are doing. Luckily, I know a lot of them just from dog walks on the beach. So I think I'm happy to help. I'm very motivated because I had the same thoughts, and it's in public interest. It's our job to talk to these people, I think, and also some of the people I know, they're really nice. I think they're not, they don't have bad intentions, and I think it's just an education. It's an education question, and the
Do you
slides
live
were
in one
amazing.
of those houses? Do you live in one of those, in that community ocean place?
I live in Parker Highlands, so it's the white tower further south. So it's the 26 condo unit. So not in one of these big mansions, but we're right next to them.
Okay, so you know what I'm talking about.
I know it exactly. And every time I walked, I saw the slides and I was like, oh my God, because this is why I joined this commission, or one of the reasons. The erosion, and as your slides state, we are already, the train has left the station. I'm really worried. And I think this should be a really high priority, and I'm really happy to help. With legal research, my background is legal, in terms of what we can do legally and how to best, hopefully not having to enforce it, but happy to help.
In
Great.
my research, when I researched erosion and dune maintenance, if one property is eroding, it affects the ones on both sides. So if your neighbor's not doing it right, then it affects the people who are doing it right. So that's not fair.
Yes.
Well, like I said, I think a lot of them aren't even aware of how bad it is. And I think maybe if we did do some kind of a pamphlet and actually passed it out to them, because
They're not
chances
going
are
to
they're not
read
going
it.
to our website.
They're not going to go.
Um,
We did educate them. We have the PowerPoint on our,
Webpage.
and it was a very educational, informative, look how easy you can do this kind of thing. It really wasn't overwhelming. The pioneer plants, the shrub or scrub zone, and then you could put the low sea grapes and all that, which are easy, but keep them low. You're not supposed to let them grow real tall.
well, but some of them need to add
The pioneer
the
plants.
foundation that their dune is gone. They
Huh?
can't even
No,
put
they need
plants on it because
sand.
there's nothing there. So they need to bring in sand, and that's not going to be cheap.
Yep. That's why I was asking if the town of Highland Beach had any money set aside for,
It's not their responsibility.
it's not.
private property. But I would always, again, I've brought this up in different discussions we've had. I understand that it is those individuals' responsibility since it is their private property. But I'm always a fan of public awareness on a broader sense because we represent the entire town of Highland Beach. And even though I'm on the intercoastal side, I still have an interest in the preservation of the beach and the environment as a whole. And I just don't think that people are aware. Is there anything, instead of just, can we go after those that it's their responsibility? Can it be a more collective whole approach to a broader informational campaign, educational campaign for the entire town? Whether it's something that is held at the library, an open session to bring in an expert to present for educational purposes, but I just always believe in the collective whole and a common voice and not chastising one with negative intent, even if they're not here and they don't know, but a broader educational approach for the town as a whole. To this is our town, these are our beaches. How do we come together to educate and support?
That's a good idea. Good idea. Maybe we'll drop the information in their mailboxes.
Is not everybody sitting at home surfing the town of Highland Beach website. They're not.
No, they're not.
They're not. So,
We could
but
do
even if I went and just strolled through the library last week, because like, get out, go to the library, like, oh, they're having a seminar tonight on photography. And there was a large turnout for this. People do get involved in different ways. People still crave connection to get out and do things. I think it would be interesting to put it in the manager's minute and have maybe different come together opportunities for awareness and education.
I think that's a good idea. I think we should put it in the manager's minute, and maybe even Coastal Star can do an article on
Oh,
the
yeah. That's
Mhm.
right.
the deterioration of the dunes.
And with that, as we're going to look into statutes, whether or not we can cite
misbehavior that is being done as it applies to the law and statutes that can hold people accountable. But I'd also like to take an approach of just in a simplistic way. And Maggie did a huge research project and it's beautiful.
I still
But is
have
there
it.
a simple 5-step way of how to assess the health of a dune? People don't know. We come from different backgrounds in education, again, bio major like you, and understand. But if you don't know, you don't know. What can we do as even as we're walking? The bucket trees are one thing, grab the bucket and go. It's quick and easy. Can there be something as you're walking, as we're doing awareness campaigns of how to visually assess quickly the health of a dune? Awareness is necessary in order to get the collective whole to stand together and say, oh, this is a problem that we can address. It doesn't need to be that difficult.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, the health of a dune, I mean, personally, if I lived on the beach, I would want to bring somebody who obviously knows what they're doing, right?
Yeah, but if you have like 5 things to look for, like everything that she amassed, if you could have like a 5 quick thing, do they have this? This is what it would look like. If you see, like we're saying down on the south end, complete landslide, but just again, it's an awareness piece. If you don't know, you're walking the beach, you're not looking for that. We are, because that's what we're attuned to,
Yeah.
but just creating the awareness piece of,
Or you may want to even provide in your pamphlet a definition of what erosion is and maybe provide some pictures that somebody can relate to. Make it very user friendly and in layperson terms. So it's not so technical, right? It can be a visual and that may be a way to spark people.
But really, the bottom line is we need to wait for you to
That's
see
right.
if they're in violation of codes, then it's a simple fix. We just
Right.
let them know they're in violation and they're going to have to fix it. So let's see what you come up with and hopefully you'll
But-
come up with something.
And you can't come up with a code? Can they vote on a code if everyone that owns, is it a state of Florida thing? A local ordinance that you have to maintain your dunes.
Well, if there isn't a current provision in the code about maintaining dunes or dealing with dune erosion,
Yeah.
you'd have to amend the code. It would be an amendment to the code of ordinances.
Mhm.
I'll have to look at your responsibilities and duties as a board. I think there's a provision in there about, let's see. I can't remember. Let me look right now to see if there's anything with regards to changing code. I think there was something about that.
But we can make recommendations.
Yeah, you can make a
Mhm.
recommendation.
We can make a recommendation at the town hall meeting, but not as a board.
This
Oh,
is what the
to-
provision says. It's section 2-140C.
Say
these
that
are your-
again? Section,
2-140C as in Charlie.
okay,
These under the powers and duties of the board.
uh-huh,
It says review existing and proposed town ordinances which affect the environment and advise the town commission regarding the need for modifications or changes to such ordinances. So there you go.
Okay.
thank you.
So yeah, you can make a recommendation to the
Oh.
commission if there currently isn't anything that you would like to see where if you do have dune erosion, that there's some sort of text, that there's some sort of provision or regulations. That
So you
can
will
be-
look what exists for us, get back to us.
Yep.
And then we'll put it on new business
Yep.
for the next time.
But again, I'll just restate my point that the board might want to think of a plan rather than, think about how,
Exactly.
again, you were given the liberty to work on this dune management and outreach. That was the direction from the commission. It was more like of an outreach, right, to the public to address this because, again, it is private property. So you may want to see how you want to expand upon what you've already provided. Think of a plan, an outline of how you want to approach this. I think maybe, an asset to the board.
Okay,
I agree.
that's
In
good.
tangent with what
I
I was
like
putting out
it.
there. And to just sit and wait for a statute to be discovered or not discovered. And I mean, we haven't met as a board since February.
Oh.
And I keep learning the hard way. We're not allowed to talk, do anything. And you just sit there and the work doesn't get done. So I feel that the time we have here together, instead of just like, well, we'll wait and see until the next 3 months, what else can be done
And
with all
any-
the work you've done already?
And any
create an
ideas we
awareness
have to share with each other has to go through the city, right?
Are you talking specifically about an amendment to the code
No,
or?
no,
what
I'm
do you-
saying, let's say I have my ideas, she
Okay,
has her ideas, etc. In order to get the ideas to each other, we send it through the city and then we can read our ideas.
Okay, you're talking about putting an idea on an agenda for the board to discuss
No,
or?
I'm saying we're in the draft form right now. Like she has her ideas, Diane will have her ideas. I
Okay,
have, our legal expert Barbara will have her ideas. Josh will have his.
okay.
After he tours what we're talking about, if he hasn't done it.
Okay.
And then and then we can all compile our ideas and then move forward with a plan.
Well, at the next meeting, what you can do is prior to the meeting, Janelle, what do you need at least, what, 2 weeks prior or more to get information for an agenda item?
Yes, but keep in mind that with the sunshine law, I cannot transfer information
Exactly.
to each member.
We're not, we're
Yeah,
gonna,
as a conduit.
we're going to send it to your clerk's office and then they can share
I
it with
can
us.
distribute, but I cannot transfer information back and forth. That has to
No,
be
no,
done on a
no.
public.
I just want to
copy.
see what they came up with, what Diane comes up with, et cetera. And then we'll all look at it and then we'll come up with some plans during the next meeting.
But
So-
we can't look at it before the meeting. It can all go into
We
them,
can't
like
look
she
at
can
it?
collect
I
it
can
all. and then
collect
she
all
can
the
distribute it back
information
to
and I
us,
can
but we-
distribute it.
At a
you can-
meeting,
At a
not,
meeting,
and again,
okay.
learned the hard way, because I
know.
tried asking for that, and I understand that.
Okay,
It's like, all right, no, we
Okay, so-
cannot communicate through hard.
so we're
collaborate.
clear here. For our next meeting, each one of us, not one person, all of us, including Barbara, we're gonna come up with our plan because we've already educated them with that website thing, that presentation, as to how we should proceed. I like the idea of having somebody speak at the library. I can get you that person.
That would be great.
I can
Yeah.
do that. I can get that part
So I
done.
would love to look into that. Like, I'd love to own going to the library, putting together what is that, that's something I've always
No, but I'm
done,
talking about a speaker, somebody that's
I-
out in the
I hear-
field who does
But
it.
I could see, I would like to put
Okay.
together a broader proposal for outreach education. That could be one component as a speaker there, but I would be happy to take on a proposal because I've done event planning and different things to that.
And
nature.
maybe the city, when they had their food trucks for voting things and all that, maybe they would have another food truck event for us. Wouldn't that be nice?
I would say put it in your proposed plan or
Oh, yes.
outline.
But you
but I-
get a lot of people, to those events and they love talking to each other. That's how I met her, actually.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, so for for your next meeting,
Okay.
we could put a discussion item on the agenda that is
Okay.
specific to Dune management outreach, which was again given to you from the commission.
Right.
And then you can all email Janelle,
Okay.
at least 2 weeks prior. Did I confirm that? Okay.
Okay.
All the information you've all have researched. And then she can compile that as part of this discussion item. All the backup from all of you will be included. And then that way at that meeting, you will discuss.
Got it.
Okay?
Okay. We're going to move forward on this. Excellent.
Sounds great. As a new member, just a question. I mean, we are allowed to meet as often as we need to, not just quarterly. So could we say meet in 6 to 8 weeks to move this project forward and just have this as an item to discuss?
The board has designated meeting dates and maybe Janelle can talk a little bit more. We have 4, right? It's a quarterly board meeting. I don't know if you want to.
Yes, so as a lot of you may be aware, you have your resolution 19-029 R, which talks about your advisory board and committee's appointment process. And it also includes when you are to meet, which is quarterly. Your board meets once every 4 months. However, if the board decides that they want to add another meeting, all of the members, of course, will have to agree to that. We have to have a quorum for that meeting. So I will not automatically go and canvass you guys for an additional meeting that's not in your original meeting schedule. Your next meeting is scheduled for November 2nd. But if you all agree, for example, you're sitting here today, if you all agree on a specific meeting date, then we can do that. And that's, of course, if we don't have any other meetings scheduled for that date.
So that would be a special meeting,
It would be a
right? Yeah.
special meeting, correct?
It's up to you.
Well, that was my suggestion, that special meeting, basically, yeah, for this particular purpose.
Yeah, because we want to have the food truck thing during the season when everybody's here. No, I was thinking, not around Thanksgiving, not around Christmas. I don't know. It's not
November
till
2nd.
November 2nd. We want,
Try for the end of September, beginning of October.
Are we saying we're gonna have a meeting to discuss outreach options and things that we can do in the community?
your ideas, come up with your plan.
Do we, I mean, we have plenty of time now
Yeah,
in this meeting to at least throw out some ideas.
okay,
You know, if that's,
No, that's
everyone
fine.
wants to talk about, you know,
that's a good idea. Why don't we do it now?
because I don't think there's anything else on the agenda except for nomination of
Okay,
people, which, and then I think we adjourn. So
okay,
the meeting's scheduled till 3.
okay.
We're
Well, I
here.
think a food truck event that focuses on dune restoration would be awesome.
Okay,
So the commission would have to approve that.
Do we know what the costs of prior food truck?
yes. How much
Sure
are
we
they?
do.
I mean, with the same menu with the barbecue and the,
I have no idea. I was not part of the food truck situation. I could check with Teresa Cuevas. I think she may have that information. So I
okay.
can ask.
So, but what information or how would what information or how would information be disseminated during that event? It's
We're
great to
gonna
get people
have-
together, but if
We're gonna
they're
have a
all in their
booth.
own little groups and
We're gonna have a booth
a booth,
and we're gonna be
Tell me more.
there
A
and,
booth and flyers. We have to have
yeah,
material
you
to
gotta have
pass
the
out.
flyers and to
Uh,
let everybody know what we're having, the event. And then all, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all 5 of us could
Man, the-
schmooze and spread the word and have pictures.
can we have
of what we're
local
talking.
individual experts from the field?
I have
Like,
one.
Absolutely.
Can we
I
have
have
even
one
like
I
a
can bring.
moment of even if it's 10-15 minutes of more of like a keynote speaker
Yeah.
instead of just going around trying to, I would like structure, I would like to discuss structure versus just the food event trucks that I went to. It was very nice, but
Yeah,
I went and we sat with our little group, took advantage
Right.
of food and drink and had a
Yes.
good time as a social event.
Right.
It wasn't as much educational experience. I wouldn't want to put time and money
but they
invested
could
into it.
have
So it
a,
was very focused
they could have
educational
a
experience.
microphone and then everybody listens and we'll have the
You know what, though?
expert.
You know
What?
what? Maybe a better idea is to have an event at the library
Okay,
and maybe have
Cards.
wine and cheese if
Yeah,
you're allowed.
I like that better than,
What if
Because
we-
then you could have a speaker
yeah,
and I think we get more people to
yeah.
pay attention to
Yeah.
what we really want them there for.
She's right, because the food truck thing, everybody's like,
It's a great social event.
yeah,
If
But
I may
it's-
interject,
It's hard to.
We love them,
disseminate
though.
information.
just if I may interject, with season coming, I know that the library will be putting on several events. They have like a movie night.
Mhm.
I think we are going to have some sort of food truck event. Don't hold me to that, but I thought that I heard some chatter about that. So maybe you can coincide any planned events
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
add, you can have your own little table or something like that.
would you let us know those dates so we can get ready?
Well, we can,
I
For the
could
food truck
check
or the
into
library?
the dates.
So we know our deadlines?
but I'd be
I
happy to
think
go
we
do
do
the
both.
research at the library. I'm
Okay.
happy to walk next door
Okay,
and work with them and.
And get a date.
They're very organized. Their
Yes.
calendars are all published. I'm
Okay.
happy to go and.
so
start doing
Nicole,
that.
you're gonna do the library dates?
Yeah, because I'd love to do it
Okay.
evening one for adults. I'd love to do one for kids too.
Okay.
on Outreach for.
And,
children.
I got one person for you, one speaker. You can count on me for one, not me, the speaker, somebody else.
I think too, we need to share that here and now because you can't get that information to me
Oh,
once we leave.
oh,
this
that's
room.
true.
What,
That's,
you know, I like the group gatherings and, you know, just like everyone else, but I think what might be more impactful is doing more of like a sit-in on the beach and having environmentalists like in front of the properties that we're talking about.
oh my
Mm.
goodness.
I mean,
Oh, boy.
thank you.
I like your idea, but
Look, you know, I love education, I think, but unless you really push actions in people's faces, nothing's going to change or gets done. And I think if we're at the library, if we're out in the parking lot, nobody's actually seeing physically what
Yeah.
we're talking about. Now, I know this, you know, we had a great sit-in for when we were talking about at the town, the parking lot that they're supposed to put in down the street
Right.
at Miss Melani's park.
Melania Park.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So there was a huge sit-in on the beach, you know, to kind of show that, hey, we really can't have more than 50 parking spots. We had a ton of people show up, had like a drone and
That's a
everything
good
like that.
idea.
It's a great idea, but unfortunately, that situation involved everybody in Highland Beach. This dune restoration, most people don't care because they're not on the beach. So you're
Sure,
talking about.
but
a
everyone has
small
beach access.
percentage.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm just, we may not get the same level of participation,
Yeah.
but that's one way to really show, you know, we can have somebody tour, like, here's what a proper dune looks like.
Oh, yeah.
And then let's walk down, you know, let's, as a group, you know, let's walk down a quarter mile or however long it is to, here's one that's eroding and, you know, messing with our nature, and why should we be protecting this?
When you get a chance, it's on the natural resources website. You said part of the, for him to look at that PowerPoint, because it's exactly what it does. It takes pictures of.
Oh,
what
sure,
it looks like.
I've seen the
And-
PowerPoint, but
You
this,
saw it?
again, it's not, you're not physically there on a
No.
PowerPoint.
No, but it's pretty, it's like, oh my goodness, look
No,
at that.
actually, pictures definitely say 1,000 words, but I'm just saying, if we're gonna do like a community event, you know, why not, let's bring somebody right to the problem. Just an idea, you know.
Well-
If I may make another comment, again, this is private beach. You can't have people walking in groups along the beach on people's private property. There's also the possibility of liability issues. While I can totally appreciate what you're saying, just be mindful. You know,
Sure, yeah.
because initially, you know, few meetings back, there was discussion about, you know, having a bucket, a beach cleanup and having members of the community go out and, you know, pick up refuse on the beach. But again, these are private beaches, so we can't have a community type planned event. Again, there's bucket trees at various condominiums. They're meant for the residents or visitors for that particular condominium. So yeah, it's something to be mindful of. Yeah,
Sure,
in future
absolutely.
conversations, just I want to keep that.
We'll start with the library thing first.
You know, the bottom line is we need to get the people that own these properties.
That's true.
So, you know, I can be concerned and I care, but I have no control over it. They own that property. It's their responsibility.
Well, let's see if it is.
That is the
Unfortunately.
bottom
I'm
line.
pretty sure they are required to maintain their dunes. I'm
Let's
pretty
see
sure I
if it
read
is.
that.
Let's find the statutes, but it's still better to, I would think everybody embraces a whole, their community, the community they love, instead of just a board going after in that way. Like, it can be a much more holistic, positive approach for education, so that others also are concerned that the property owners are not doing what they're supposed to be doing. You don't have to be the enforcement police all the time, but by educating others, they would be standing behind us. And I just, with the sit-in, I think I was the one too who was proposing, can't we go? Or I've done that at different things. So can't we just go walk the beach, do cleanups, and
Right.
the things I had learned through the process as well. Even I have to keep reminding my community, they want to go out because we live in Highland Beach Club. They want to go across the street, have a beach party, yada, yada, yada. Why? Like, we don't own that property. And if you start and push, your concern and fear is too, like we've seen in other communities where it's private and they own a component. I would never want the beachfront owners to start taking motions so that they can limit our access and how much we can do, since I just walk through an easement and go down to below the tide line. But it has happened in different communities where there's been pushback, and I don't want to go right to that end and upset people. Let's invite them in to educate them in a friendly way first before it becomes them against us. And then
Sure,
all
I
of a
agree.
sudden we have no access to the beach except down by the water line, because they can push to a certain degree about how much we can utilize. It's happened across the state in different areas.
So it does go to the high tide water line. So we have plenty of room.
So,
But there are communities where they have pushed and they're trying to repeal, but it's happened. You don't want to get there, is my point. We don't want to get there and then have to backpedal when somebody got upset.
so let's do a combination food truck event with whoever's planning one. Have ourselves a little table, right?
Well, absolutely. Whenever the next food
Yeah.
truck event is, we could have a booth
We're gonna do it.
with,
Is there something that's
Pictures.
more cost effective than, you know, paying for food trucks?
we won't,
Or-
Oh,
the
we
the
don't
food
pay
truck
for
is
them.
going to happen whether we have a booth or not.
Oh, so you're saying
The
coordinate
city
it
is
with like
doing
a
food
town,
trucks
like
yeah.
every now and then.
Spring
so-
Fest or something
Yeah,
like that?
exactly.
To
Okay.
So they could talk to the residents about whatever the commissioners feel is important at the time.
I
It's really fun. I love
Just
it.
like at the last food truck, the city had a little booth and they gave out cups and
Yeah.
whatever. We could have a booth for
And the
restoration. to
library,
restoration.
Nicole. I like your library idea. I can bring my speaker. It would be the same person that helped me with my research for the PowerPoint.
Yeah, that I will need,
Yes.
that I will need to discuss with the town manager.
Okay,
As far as any
I'm gonna throw the
speakers.
name out so I can tell Nicole now. Robert Barron of Coastal Management, something. It's on the website. I mean, not on the website. It's on my PowerPoint. When something like that. When you go on my PowerPoint, you'll see me thanking him at the end of the PowerPoint. You'll get the exact name. Okay, so that's been shared. And the other thing I could do is take pictures and blow them up and,
Well, you already did that.
no, but I'm saying like for our booth,
Oh.
like have a, yeah. I'll bring it.
Or if we plan to go and knock on private property doors, or, you know, if we get approval,
Yeah, if we get approval, that,
caveat that.
I would like to invite them personally to the library event, to the food truck event and say, hey, we can suggest some great.
Wait, I have a question.
ideas."
Are we allowed to take pictures of dunes and put the address and have that at our booth?
Well,
Oh,
again, you're going to go on the
Is it gonna be
property to
public
get a
shaming?
picture of their dune.
I can
going
get a
on
picture
private
on
property.
from the
get it-
beach.
I can get it off the beach. That's what I did in my PowerPoint. I just shot a picture and I saw their swimming pool and the cliff coming
I
down.
don't think you would want to put.
I don't think I could put
Name
the
or
address. I wouldn't put the address. I wouldn't put. the
So my thought was if we're gonna educate, however we educate these people legally, can we have something in place where, you know, here's a company you can call to get the approved plants, and here's a company you can call to get dirt brought in or sand brought in, like have all of our ducks in order when we're presenting a solution to them.
That all in your research? Shannon?
No, but I can get you all that.
So like, you know, let's reach out to like a contractor or somebody that can do that. You know, what's the cost to, you know, hey, we took a look at your dune. It's gonna
Right.
cost about $20,000 to
Oh,
get
I
it back
can
up. to
have
speed.
him come, yeah, but there should be more than one person that, you know, they have options, you know, you can hire this firm, at least three.
But at least giving them some resources, because they may not even know where to start. It's like, yeah, you know,
How
I would
much
love
it-
to help, you know, I noticed, you know, my pool's starting to sink into the ocean, you know, but I don't know really who to turn to. Well,
Okay,
hey, here's some resources, you know, here's a great landscaping company that we know sells the particular plants that you need to plant here.
I can come up with one scenario, one person for different problems like dunes falling down and putting in the right plants. And also, I think the state of Florida will even help us with the exotics and not the exotics, the endangered plants. They have like programs where they want to start colonies of endangered plants.
Sure, so
They get
maybe
these
we can
grants
get,
and
you
they
know,
could, yeah, but
free
that's-
agriculture.
yeah, but that's after you put in what you really need. The
sand.
others are enhancement plants. But I'd rather see the dunes restored first before you go.
Do we know where, I mean, I'm just spitfiring ideas here, but do we know where they put the sand that they dredge from Boca Inlet?
I don't know. I
I
think
think
it's
they
on
just
that
put it
thing.
back
They put
onto
it back onto the beach. Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I was going to advise the board, you may not want to put specific companies, because
Okay.
then you get in the business of, oh, can you add me to the list or not add me? Or
Yeah,
I
that's
used him
very true.
before, he was
That's true.
horrible. I would just recommend, and once you do your research, you could determine whether it's a licensed, landscape architect or, whatever the appropriate term. Maybe you just want to give a general term
Okay,
of, a dune expert or specialist. Make it general. I wouldn't recommend giving specific names of companies.
Okay.
Just
good.
keep
Good.
that in mind.
You know, about 10 years ago, they trucked in a lot of sand to rebuild the dunes. Maybe we could find out who did that job. And I don't know who paid for it, but there were trucks going back and forth.
In
all-
Highland Beach?
Yes, when I first moved here. They brought
There's
in
another
a
one.
lot of
Again, I
sand.
wouldn't recommend a specific company. I would just keep it more general, whether it's a state licensed landscape architect or dune special. I mean, you will have to determine what the
Okay.
appropriate term is. But as I said, once you get in the business of making recommendations of specific companies,
Yeah, I don't think we
I
should do
think
that.
it's can be quite problematic because you have one resident that has an issue with them and
Yeah.
you
Okay.
as the board recommended it.
them and-
You
yeah.
don't want to be put in that position. So I would
Absolutely.
keep it
Okay.
more general. Again, you all can determine what that appropriate terminology will be for the specialist.
Maggie, since you're the one who did so much research, what are government agencies or county agencies or things that you can send people to for additional resources? What?
I have the list, yeah.
Yeah, so again, that would be the better place to go, I believe. So,
But
or it's a starting point for people
But
too.
they don't go.
But
I
that's
can
the
call
point of
Fish and
the
Wildlife and
that's the
see what
point
they
of the campaign.
recommend.
They just don't. I mean, the people who's got the problems, the dune problems, they just,
But that's the point that we're trying to do.
Okay,
We're trying to, again, continue to push
Okay.
existing resources. We don't have to reinvent the wheel, but where can we start so that, again, we're not personally recommending or individual companies, but again, pushing people to understand the
frustrated about
resources
it.
that are
Because
out
the
there.
people
and
that,
Why?
it's like when I was a teacher, the students who were really naughty, the parents never came to school night. It was the good ones that showed up.
Well, that's
So
a
that's,
whole other.
yeah,
wax.
it's like that. But with,
I know, I was a teacher too.
But I think what we definitely can do is like what Newton, Massachusetts did, is a list of companies that do this kind of work. It's not a recommendation. We specifically have to say it's not a recommendation. And it can be, say, a list of 20 companies that specialize in dune restorations locally. That should be possible, right?
that's a good idea.
I'll discuss that with the town manager, how we would want to move forward. I just know, when you give specific names, and somebody has an issue possibly with that particular firm, and then the board recommends it, as I said, it could put the board in a little bit of a precarious situation if you wish.
Mhm.
But I can discuss this further. Again, this is all just coming out very organically right now from the board. Once you make your plan, again, I will discuss it with the town manager. And, I think we'll be able to give you some better direction at that point. You could put it on your list as part of your plan or your outline. Once you have that determined, then again, as I typically do, I will review whatever the board's recommendations are with the town manager and determine, how we proceed.
The last time we met, before all the new people came, we discussed litter in the mangroves, switching over to the intercoastal, right?
Mhm.
That was a recommendation. Somebody, I think Steve asked me to look into, does it affect? And it does. I did the plastics, all that stuff. So, yeah, I gave him a complete report, which, it was at the meeting, of course. So, we have now a marine boat. Why don't we have them go in with the boat and maybe start doing a little cleaning?
So we
Ain't
have,
gonna happen.
so there's a company called 40 Ocean or 4 Ocean.
Uh-huh.
For Ocean, yes,
Okay.
They're constantly in my canal and
Oh,
we
I've seen
only
them as
have,
well.
we only have a handful of canals for the whole town. And
Right.
they're always in the back. They're in the back, they're not in the mangroves, but I know they definitely drive over to the mangroves and pull out as much.
who
Trash.
hired them?
They're purely nonprofit organization that just go through Palm Beach, through South Florida. So we could maybe reach out to them and maybe partner with them on some kind of initiative.
Because I'd put that out there too. We have statutes for the beach as under the nuisance ordinances of who's responsible for trash on there, but I couldn't find anything we were looking into when it comes to the mangroves. And I started looking into county areas like by me, like, well, the church owns this part, we own that part. But I couldn't find anything that says what your responsibility is as it pertains to trash maintenance or nuisance in the mangrove itself. And can you,
I'm
again,
not-
holding people accountable for
Sure,
things, it's.
the city can fine you lots of money for witnessing you throw trash into the canals.
I don't see people, it's just washing in and
Yeah.
then
Yeah,
it's stuck
that's-
in there.
It comes from all over the
It comes
place
from
and
all
then
over.
it just hangs out.
But holding people
Wherever
accountable.
So, maybe having whatever events we do in partnership with them. I mean, that's, certainly.
That's a good one.
Okay. Is there a local I mean, that's a huge organization. Is there a local chapter,
Mhm.
obviously, then that?
I
is-
believe
okay.
so, yeah.
Wow.
Is that something you want to look into?
Sure,
I'm
happy to.
documenting notes and stuff too for my sanity.
But if we do events, if we want, we're doing one for the beach side and then something differently for the intercoastal side. So I don't want to
Totally. Yeah.
overwhelm the educational aspect of it. There's much more residents on the intercoastal side.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So there may be more people to help. But again, it's what I think we need to research on what can we do to help. Because some of us, we can't go swimming over to the mangroves and start
Right.
pulling out trash. Not everybody has a boat. So what is the actual solution that we're trying to get there?
Highland Beach has a boat now.
Yeah, but that's a police boat.
That's
It's
a
not a
police
property.
Okay, okay.
That's
Well,
correct.
yeah.
It's a police boat.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
be mindful of that. I was just going to add to the board, mention to the board. So now we went from dune management
know, but let's
to
go back
trash
up.
in the mangroves.
Because we
Um,
never finished that. plan.
Yeah, I think the board should be mindful that, these items are not on the agenda. So again, we can make a note, staff, that on your next agenda, that we have a discussion item for trash in the mangroves. That way it's published agenda. Anyone who's watching the meeting knows, okay, this item is on the agenda. They can provide public comment because now you're going into different areas and it's not on the agenda.
Well,
So-
these things were brought up by our last chairperson at the last meeting that I recall. And he specifically said, who wants to research what effect does trash have on the environment? And
But do we want to find, with respect to that and jumping all over the place, do we want to finalize, as Josh stated, we're here now and putting together a proposal on what each individual's role would be if we
Okay.
pursue that outreach campaign and educational
Well,
components?
I think
for-
we need approval to do
restoration.
that from the town. Right?
As far as, well, I think I was going to look up, right, what our code says as far as, is that what you're talking about?
No,
Jennifer?
for trash in the mangroves, I think we need approval from the town manager to be able to discuss that.
It's not so much approval from the town manager, but typically prior to a meeting, if you want to have a discussion item on the agenda, you would email Janelle, you could copy me, maybe at least 2 weeks prior and say, I would like this to be a discussion item. Here's some research that I've done and I want to have a discussion with the board. That's typically how we would proceed. I mean, if you wanted to discuss trash in the mangroves, then with all due respect, you should have really reached out to Janelle 2 weeks prior and say, you know what? This was discussed at a previous meeting. I would like to put it on the agenda as a discussion item. That way you can discuss it and people who are watching at home could be like, oh, okay, I want to listen to this meeting today because on the agenda is about trash in the mangrove, but
right.
they don't know that because you're just talking about it now. So that's why I'm saying it's probably in your best interest to place these things on the agenda. As I said, 2 weeks prior to the meeting, you could request whatever topic that you would like to discuss, provide any backup, and we'll put it on the agenda with the backup and it will be routed to the board. I think that's a better way to, pursue things moving forward.
But can we finalize that discussion about the outreach campaign for dune restoration at this point, since we had agreed to
Yeah,
utilize this
I
time to
mean,
do that
I-
instead of scheduling a special meeting?
Yeah, I mean, the
threw a
discussion was
lot out there
brought
too.
up. It wasn't on the agenda, but
I
okay. I
know.
mean, sometimes things
I
happen
hear you.
organically. I get it, but yeah,
Instead
yeah,
of
yeah.
continually jumping ahead, can we
Yeah.
finalize this discussion now? Because again, I agreed to work with the library, identify possible dates for a public informational night. Maggie, you shared Robert Barron of Coastal Management as a possible speaker to bring into that. I can look into other things. We were going to identify companies that address dune restoration, but that one is kind of not sure what we should or shouldn't be doing. In addition to then teasing out, Maggie, all that you've compiled as it pertains to government agencies that provide resources for dune management. And also following through as to whether or not the town is going to have food truck nights so that we can work in coordination with them and have a booth to present and to share. But so under those big items, like I'll take on library components, but is there somebody who wants to, you threw out some possibilities, Maggie, of if we did have a booth at a possible food truck night, who wants to organize and come and present or prepare the information that would be shared? Who wants to compile or look into whether we eventually find whether we should or shouldn't but start even looking at companies that do address dune restoration, and then we'll see whether or not we. can
I will
share.
call Fish and Wildlife and see what I can get from them,
Okay,
whatever information on dune restoration.
Diane, okay,
And if they are willing to come and speak with us whenever we have a meeting, I'll, find that out as well.
mhm.
I was going to add, I believe in my previous research, when I was looking at dune management and restoration, I believe the county may have some interesting case studies on dune restoration. So that may be another resource for the board in your research.
Okay.
Does anybody want to look at that specifically? Because again, we can't talk about any of this once we leave this
Wow.
room, so.
Even, so once we even do research, I can't talk, it's basically
The
just bring it up.
sunshine
at the
law
next
makes
meeting.
it so
I know
that
the
we're
sun-
not allowed to speak. So it has to be at the next meeting.
So
Okay,
you will bring what you find to the next meeting.
And if you
unless we're
have something,
scheduling
you can
special-
email it to the office and then it'll
but you
be,
can't even disseminate.
no,
it
but
until-
so we'll get it at the next meeting.
Okay.
Again, 2 weeks prior, so we have enough time to prepare the agenda.
Mhm.
We prefer it that way rather than last minute, and it's a little bit of a, crazy time with the agenda. So yeah, 2 weeks prior, as I said, email Janelle, you can copy me, any of your research, and or if you want to even add an additional item, like based on your research, maybe you found another topic that's within your duties and responsibilities that you may want to add, then you just say, I would like to add an additional discussion item on the agenda. Here's some research that I found. Again, like to discuss it with the board.
Our board member who is with us virtually, anything you want to pipe in, share, want to take responsibility for as it pertains to the outreach campaign? I apologize. I feel like we're not including you enough.
No, I'm sorry that I can't be there because August is always my month in Massachusetts in the
Oh,
Cape
no, no.
Cod, in beautiful national seashore, by the way. Well, my instant thought was just what I said before, 2nd of November, that's almost in the season. And I just worry that we won't have enough time to get to have all these discussions that are necessary. And, we'll all find out some things, like in 6 weeks, we all know a lot more, and we would want to meet with each other and discuss those things so that on the 2nd of November meeting, we can actually come to conclusions. So my suggestion or thought would be to have that special meeting, maybe end of September, early October, where we can have a further discussion based on all the research we did. And I'm happy to, kind of take over some of the legal aspects of it. I'm a Swiss trained lawyer. I'm not a US. I'm certainly not a Florida trained lawyer. But I do know lawyers in Florida who can help me with finding the right websites and with the research. So that's just my thoughts right now. And the other thought were really, are we really not allowed to reach out to people with leaflets? Could we do some research maybe with the town attorney on what's legally allowed to just get to these neighbors, to these concerned properties on the ocean?
Well, I would agree with that. Is there a way that we can just send out an informational flyer to the homes that are directly affected?
Again, I think I'll talk with the town
Okay.
manager and discuss that with him and see what his thoughts are.
When you do that and you're able to get a yes or a no, I can draft something and show it to you all to see if you approve it.
We're waiting for Ingrid. So, but I would like to go back to the comment of this, it's been brought up twice, of a special meeting prior to the already scheduled meeting. Is there any other thoughts around?
I can
In
attend.
favor, against, or?
We would have to look at the schedule first to determine when we would be able to do
Mhm.
that, and I would have to canvass the board. And we would have to have a physical quorum of all the members. I'm sorry, at least 4 of the members
Yeah.
agreeing to attend in
So
person.
before we even get into you having to do all that work, is that something we want to do?
I
The
can
the
do it.
individuals who are sitting here that form today's quorum, is that, are you interested in having, look into
I'm
the
interested.
possibilities of
Are you
making it happen?
interested?
Sure.
Yeah,
Do we have to motion to? Okay, yeah.
No.
I'd say
yeah, I'm interested.
We don't have a
Sure.
meeting date for you to make a motion for it this time.
Gotcha.
So I'll
But-
have to look into it and canvass you all for the next special meeting.
Okay, But probably, we're thinking September, it would be for some time to get some of this work done, right? Like, even if there is availability in August or the end of August, is that feasible, or we would say?
I
no,
can
we
do it
can't?
late September.
So late September, early October, just sometime prior to the next scheduled meeting. And again, that's all based on availability, but that would be best hopes.
I think that's a great idea. Late September, that gives us enough time. And it's also more towards the end of the hurricane season. So we're hopefully all going to be there.
So again, with the understanding that it's based upon.
So from my
availability.
understanding, you want to see if we can schedule a meeting in September, but we don't have a definitive date. So actually, let's do that. Can we make a motion for us to look into having a meeting for you all
Mhm.
in September? We can
Yep,
make a motion for
I
that.
make a motion that we look into the possibility of having a special meeting to further discuss the topic of Dune outreach campaign education sometime at the end of September, mid-October.
Second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye. Sounds good.
So for the brochures or pamphlets, we want to be cautious, because if you're going to target putting the brochures at just the properties that need it, we may have to do brochures for the whole town or every beach resident. So be mindful when you're putting material together if we get approval.
Could we do it as an insert in this thing? The
I could
manager
discuss it
thing?
with the town manager, see what his thoughts are.
Okay.
I mean, you could do, multi. I think you could do an article in the
Yeah.
manager's minutes, maybe an
Okay.
additional pamphlet. Again, these are things I'll be happy to discuss with
Okay.
him, see what his thoughts are.
Thank you. No knocking on the door. And you're gonna look into the ordinances?
I will discuss that with the town manager. Remember, I do get direction, not from the board, but from the town manager.
Mhm.
I'll let him know that you shared with me that you're interested in possibly looking into amending the code of ordinances to incorporate some sort of regulations about managing your dunes if it's not already in the code. Again, if he gives me the direction to do that research, then I will. But if, again, it's his decision to determine my workload. So I will discuss it with him. Yes.
I'll look into other towns like Delray and up and down the coast to see if they have anything that they have ordinances in regards to people that live on the beach, see what they're doing to address the situation.
Well, it's different if it's public or private.
That's true. Take that into account, like Hillsborough Mile, for example, that's pretty private. Look at some place like that. See what they do. And their beach,
Gulfstream is a very well managed town. A lot of private beach.
Gulfstream is a very well-managed town. Absolutely. I'll look in, I will. Thank you. That I'll do right away.
Ingrid may be able to get, Ingrid may be able to give you contact information on that, on who to speak to in Gulfstream and in,
Okay, I'll send you an email to,
Send me an email. I
I
think
will.
our building official may have a contact there.
okay, that's a good idea. Everybody's full of good ideas today.
So for Gulfstream, I am through school for the school, because we go to school there, Gulfstream School. I know the town attorney, Trey Nazaro. So if you like, I can contact him, put you in touch, or we can both have a conversation. I don't know how you want to do that.
That would be fantastic, but I won't be able to get your information. You'll give it to Ingrid
And
I
then
won't
we can
have it.
share
because I'm not allowed to talk to you.
So I gave the information to Ingrid.
You can email the information to me. I will advise the town manager that you all are wanting to reach out to Gulfstream.
Sorry, I cannot see. I'm sorry because I'm remote here. I cannot see who's talking. So who is me? Is it Janelle?
Yeah,
This
this is
is
Ingrid Allen,
Chapelier.
Town Planner.
This
Oh.
is, oh, I thought you were talking
Okay.
about me. So if you get that information on Gulfstream, give it to Ingrid.
To Ingrid. Okay.
Yeah, she's the town planner, right? Yes. of
That's
course.
correct.
Yes.
Are we ready to move on to the next agenda item?
I am.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is nomination of chairperson and vice chairperson. As of February 3rd, 2022, Ms. Nivasita Mirage resigned from her role as a member and a vice chair of the Natural Resources Preservation Advisory Board. Mr. Stephen Park's term as a member of the Natural Resources Preservation Advisory Board expired on April 30th, 2022, along with his role as a chairperson. The board would need to nominate a chairperson and vice chairperson. Nominations are open for chairperson. Are there any nominations?
Do you want it, Nicole? If you don't want it,
I'll nominate Nicole.
okay.
I'm happy to accept the nomination. Thank you. That's an honor.
Are there any other nominations for chairperson? Okay, if no, hearing no other nominations, the nominations are closed. Is there a motion to nominate Nicole Stanfield as chairperson to serve a one-year term ending August 10, 2023? Is
Yes,
there a motion?
Yes.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
A second? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Nominations are now open for vice chairperson. Are there any nominations?
I'll nominate Maggie
I'll do it.
Chapelier.
Okay. Maggie Chevalier, do you accept the nomination for vice chairperson?
I sure do.
Okay.
Anything I can do to help?
Are there any other nominations for vice chairperson? If no, hearing no other nominations, the nominations are closed. The motion?
I'll make a motion to accept Maggie as vice chairperson.
All in,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, announcements. There are quite a few meetings that are coming up. If you look in your agenda packets, you can view all of the upcoming town commission planning board meetings that are coming up. The next scheduled Natural Resources Preservation Advisory Board meeting is scheduled for November 2nd at 12:30 p.m.
It says 1 o'clock.
I know,
Oh,
12:30.
okay.
You guys actually voted to change that time to 12:30 at the last meeting.
Trying to
What we can do
accommodate
is we
somebody.
could canvas everyone now, since you guys are here, to canvas your availability for that next meeting. So I will call each member one by one, just let me know if you're available for that next scheduled meeting. And this isn't saying that you won't have one before that, we're just talking about your regularly scheduled meeting, okay? Member Matthewman,
Yes.
member Vice Chair Chapelier,
Ooh, yes.
member Davison,
Yes.
member Nestle,
Yes.
and Chairperson Stansfield.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. There being no further business to come before the board, the meeting is adjourned at 1:49 p.m. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
A lot of work for Ingrid.